folks? Welcome back to the EMBC Network, the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the whole network, basically, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show. This will be another awesome topic. Again, I keep saying that, but they're all awesome topics. All my guests are awesome. And really, we tackle different things. And today, we're going to talk about real life and how to kind of do better in life and, believe in ourselves and kind of like find that balance regardless of how the world behaves around us and what throws at us. And my guest today is someone who is actually a lawyer by trade, and she's gone through adversity in life as everybody does, and I think we all can relate to today's discussion. Believe me, folks, when we go there, you're going to know that this is about me. And it's going to be fun. She's also an author, and she wrote a book, and actually I do have a copy of that book. And it's an awesome book. It's The Courage Circle, and the author is Sandy Stream. Sandy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Hurricane. I'm really happy to be here and have the opportunity to talk about these topics that I find so important.
Well, it's not just important. I think it's vital.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the book, but I've read through it, and I mean from the beginning, from the first page, literally you start hitting on things that the life has thrown at all of us. One way or the other, we are kind of what's in this book. And frankly, folks, if you're watching or listening, you should get a copy just because this is not a sale pitch, but it's really a book that can, open your eyes to life and how you should behave in it and how you should act and how you should be. I mean, no matter what life throws at you. So I'm going to leave it at that. Well, Sandy, welcome, to the discussion today, because before you got into the book, obviously there's a lot of stuff that happened. Now you also teach, I guess folks, how to cope and just believe and become better. But let's talk about the journey that got you into here.
Well, I think like everybody else, I went through a million things. So I don't know how many details to say or not, but definitely whatever life had thrown at me, all the good stuff and bad stuff, it definitely got harder during COVID. Difficulties in my home life, personally, probably in every aspect. And I was just beside myself of like, how do I function? How do I live? What do I do? And I don't even know where I got the idea I don't know how I get any ideas actually, but I got this idea to like paint a circle on my wall. And that is the spot in my living room that I used to just sit a lot and say try to figure out how to live. And so I was meditating a lot. I was crying a lot. I was reading a lot. I was watching a million things. And slowly but surely over a lot of time, started organizing. Maybe the lawyer in me helped me in terms of this organization, but I was organizing pieces. So every time I would learn about something, I'm like, oh, okay, this section. Every time I'd learn about this, okay, I'm going to put this in this section. And without really intentional knowing that I'm even going to write a book or not a book, I was just trying to piece things together for myself. And eventually, I realized there's just so many pieces of the puzzle to feel well. And it's not one thing. It's not meditate 10 minutes a day, you're going to feel good. It's just not that simple. It's just many, 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 many pieces. And so I decided to put these pieces together once I realized, hey, with these pieces, I can actually walk around this world feeling okay. Even if there's millions of things going on, I'm actually capable to do that. And so is everybody else. And so I put it together in a book. And then once I published the book, I thought, how did I even get to 52, which I was at the time? I'm 53 now. And I'm like, how did I get to 52? All the education I've had, I have so many degrees, I've worked, I've had family, I had a full life. And how did I not really know these things until now? I'm sure there's plenty of other people who, we don't learn these things at school. We don't discuss them in our homes often, whatever. And I decided to start doing circles in my local yoga studio and online. And I've done about 110 events so far, just with adults discussing with respect and honesty and openness these topics. And what's been happening in these circles is, I would say, magical. Yeah.
Well, Sandy, I mean, reading through the book, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, it starts from, there's a lot of self-talk. There's a lot of self-awareness. There's a lot of, finding yourself,
Yeah.
also facing the realities of life from childhood to everybody, relationships, work,
Yeah.
business, how other people perceive you. There's a lot of stuff there. I mean, it's really, and that's actually all of us. I mean, we all live worrying about. I mean, we just had this discussion. I mean, literally, I think in a different show about how we live through the lenses of others. We try to satisfy everybody. Like technically, we're worried about what people are thinking about us and what they're
Yeah.
going to do and what they're going to say. And sometimes we're also subjected to a lot of stuff. Well, you're not good. You're an idiot. Like which was something I read there. There's a lot of those things that happen. And I think. And by the way, I would say
Constantly.
we
Yeah.
we not only we get them, but we also sometimes dish them out. So let's be real.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, sometimes we just use the same behaviors that we were learned over time,
Of
and then
course.
we give that out, and it affects people. And the thing is, like, it does affect people, and it starts early on, and then people sometimes they just kind of lose the way, and they start trying to figure out themselves for how they should satisfy everybody, probably not themselves. So that I think that's kind of like a big picture of the book itself. But so let's talk about some of the events. I mean, and the things that really were the catalysts. I mean, I know you mentioned in the pandemic. Now, obviously, in the pandemic, a lot of people had a reset in a lot of ways. And believe it or not, as bad as the pandemic and tragic it was, there was a lot of eye openers, and a lot of transformation that happened for many people. Discovery. Sometimes people just realize what they were meant to do and who they were meant to be with, and a lot of things. And people changed their lives, because a lot of people also realize that life is too short, and all of a sudden, you can just be gone. And what's up? What have I done with the past, right? And like nobody expected it until it happened, and then people were losing lives, and it's tragic, right? Like, and then you find yourself not out of a job, or a lot of things happen to a lot of people, and this is not for me. Like, I need to live my life the way I want to live my life, and not the way I was taught, not the way that people expect me to live it. It's my way now. It's almost like you got to be selfish a little bit, and take care of number one. And I think that's really a big thing, that we all should sometimes kind of explore. So let's talk about that. What do you say about these concepts that are in the book
You
from the
touched
start?
so many amazing ones. You touched so many that are important. So when you talked about like rejection, which is important, about what you call selfish, about taking care of selfish, I would say it's not selfish, but I'll talk about that maybe in a second. And you talked about, treating ourselves or others treating us like, something is wrong with us or things like that. Like those are all big ones. I could start with,
Yeah, please.
I don't know which one to start with, but let's say the rejection one. So I didn't realize when I'm writing the book that I thought it's how am I going to feel well, whatever, or self-help concepts, whatever, as I tried to organize. But I actually realized only at the end that the book is actually about power. And I didn't know that as I was going through it, but not the power we see in politics. That's not power, that's force. Power is a totally different word in my view. And if we think, for example, the question of rejection, as you said, right, or getting people's approval, it's a perfect example of that. So if, for example, I decide, for the next 10 years, Hurricane and his friend Mary, those two people, Hurricane and Mary, are going to be the two people that for the next 10 years are going to decide if they, approve of me or not, reject me or not, if I'm good or not, if I'm doing the right thing or not, whatever. If you two are the people, I have literally, so it's not an intellectual concept, it's factual. I have literally given you the power to do this, right? And instead we could take it and have it ourselves, right? And there's a lot of these kind of things that instead of putting them outside, we can actually have them in ourselves, so that it actually is a question of having the power to decide these things. But I think it's hard to come to that if we don't first deal with what you were talking about, this idea of what's wrong with us. And what I came to realize, I think there's two important things to say that. What I came to realize when you spend a lot of your time with yourself and trying to understand yourself, like just to have, you can use the word compassion or just understand, right? It's a simple word. I understand why I was doing this. I understand why I did this behavior. I understand why I felt this. I understand. We may come to realize, as I have, that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not even good enough. I'm actually good, period. Like good enough implies that you're like 80% and you're like a little bit, no, you're not even good enough. You're good. You're goodness, pure, 100% goodness. And whatever you might have done is mistakes, learning this, that, whatever else. So when you come to that feeling of realizing your own goodness, it just changes everything. And it's very hard to come to it without looking at the truth of yourself, like spending time and seeing what's the truth. Am I really, so bad, or am I actually good? Like, it's a good question to ask ourselves in a deep way. And of course, I believe in my own goodness as well as yours and everybody else's. As the truth, not as a belief system, as a truth. Because if I sat with you, for example, for 5 years and every day you would tell me all your stories of what happened, I'm sure we can understand it all, right? Like we can understand why you did that, why you did that. It's just, I don't have time, 5 years, but I could. But the second reason is very hard to come to that is just the response we get from others, like 24/7. That's giving us that message. So if you'd like, I can give you a sample of how we start our circles. And that I always start with a bit of a listening demo, but it touches this topic very, very importantly, just to see how our environments deal with us. So we always start with a listening demo. And I always ask if somebody could just share something, anything. And then I do a little listening demo. So if you're up for it, Hurricane, you can share something with me, anything that you feel comfortable to share in your life or something going on with you. It could be easy or hard or whatever that you're comfortable to share, obviously. Well, and I can show you what I mean.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things.
Yeah, sure. Well, what you feel comfortable, yeah.
But I'm gonna go with the obvious. I mean, I am in the last 4 years, I started the media company, and we've been trying to, make it work, and it takes a lot of time, and energy, and it's not as easy as it sounds, because this is not just like a podcast and just there's more to it. So it's like making that balance between live and still you don't want to sacrifice, and that's really a challenge. Like right now, that's what I'm going through, and it is the current scenario for me, and it is a big deal because I do want this to happen, and it's like my dream now. It's I've had many dreams that I kind of realized over time, but this is my next thing, and it is a big piece in my life right now, and so it's part of me, and everybody, it affects everyone around you, of course, your family, everybody has to adjust to this new thing, and it comes with a lot of stuff, like how to handle the people, and whether there's the fans and there is the critics, right? There's everybody, right? And how to be in the middle, how to find a way, how to find also yourself in the circles of this world of where I'm in, because this is not a small thing. Media is huge, and there's so much going on in it, and so that's the easiest example that I can give at least right now that I'm going through.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. So if we're in the circle, I always give a demo of someone sharing, and then I'll give you an example of 3 ways that typically people might listen to this, right? So the first way, if we imagine ourselves as a human mirror, so instead of me, seeing the truth as a mirror, because what you just shared was 100% true, right? Not 80%, not 60%. It's actually true, right? It's truth in our world. It's there. It's true. And so instead of reflecting the truth, they literally put the mirror down as if what you said doesn't even exist or it's not true, right? So we can call that dismissive, gaslighting, all those. So that might sound something like, oh, really, Hurricane? I find like my podcast, it's kind of easy to do, and like it's not so hard. I just like, I balance with my things, and it's not a big deal. Okay, so I totally like, it's such a disconnect of reality. And, you and I might joke about it a bit, but, if you're in a relationship with someone who's doing this constantly, like it can create a lot of mental health issues and all kinds of things. Like it really is a tough thing to live with and unhealthy, of course. So that's the first type of listening that we encounter quite a bit, right? This mirror going down
There's
flat.
plenty of that out there.
So second type of listening, the person might lift the mirror a bit, like I'm going to see the truth, a little bit of what you're saying, but I'm going to put it down really fast because I want to go fix it. I don't really like what you just said. I don't like what you feel. I'm not comfortable with your feelings. I'm not comfortable with my feelings. Or maybe I want to give advice and seem really smart. So this kind of listening, we can call it more like fixing or fixing energy or something like that. And so that one might sound something like, oh, really? Like it's hard, this balance of media? Well, guess what? I know there's an amazing coach. She really knows how to help you with life balance stuff. So here's the number. I'm telling you, go once a day. And the best thing you could do also, gratitude journal every night, 5 things. You're going to be just fine. Okay. Like just trust it's going to be fine. Do the gratitude journal, go see this coach. Like it's going to be fine. Okay. Again,
Love it.
It's like not listening exactly, right? Like I'm dishing advice on you. I'm, telling you what to do. And often it's because I'm not comfortable with you having this experience, right? I'm not comfortable with the truth in a way. And then the third type of listening is to be a clean human mirror. It's very hard to do. And I as well need to really focus and make sure to do it well constantly, because this is where the magic is, where we just reflect the truth. That's all. It's not even about being nice. And that would sound something like, well, Hurricane, it sounds like you're kind of navigating this thing that you've chosen to do because it's your dream. So you're kind of going for it. But at the same time, it's hard because you have to juggle, life balance with this dream that you're pursuing. It's also new. It sounds like you have to navigate, criticism versus supporters and all that. Then that's kind of new or hard to navigate or to figure out exactly. But yet you still seem determined, like this is the dream, this is the one you want to do. And so you're just, trying to work your way around this to try to make it happen or something like that. Is that basically what's going on?
Literally, I love it because what you did is really kind of reset, exactly what I stated. And so it's kind of like almost soundboarding to me. Like, I can hear that, so you're almost agreeing to, it is a challenge. It is happening.
Well, it's true.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So
and I'm not
I
even being nice. I'm not even trying to be nice. Right. I'm just
you were stating.
Truth.
Yeah, you're restating
right?
what you got from what I just stated.
What I see the truth. That's what you're going through actually right now. That's what you're thinking and feeling and dealing with. And so when we do that as human beings together, right? First of all, everybody could relax and just, oh, it's okay. I'm like right now juggling with this. So what? Like it's normal. It's healthy. It's where I'm at. It's not a big deal. And people just open up and they're respectful with each other when we do this kind of listening. And there's a lot of trust involved in that the other person will figure it out a little bit, or they can ask, but it's a whole different energy when you listen to each other this way. So in the circle, we try to do that on any topic. So I do the demo and then we discuss a topic, but everyone is listening like in this way, and it's a whole world of difference, really.
Well, thank you, Cindy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And sorry, just one more thing, and why I really wanted to do this demo, now I'm remembering. So the second one, the one that I told you with the like fixing you and whatever, for me, what it does, and it's the most typical one that happens, is that underlying that message of, okay, I want to fix your feelings. Okay, just do this. Is there something that's wrong with you? You're not supposed to feel all worried about your project or how to navigate. Something's wrong with you. Let me go fix it. Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. And I think that message is constantly given. And so people walk around feeling that because that's what's coming at them. So I, really reject that model and won't accept to, get that message towards me. I don't accept that message myself. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I gave you like one of the things that I'm living right now, but it's this thing happens all around our lives since the beginning of time. I mean, the minute you're actually aware of things, you're constantly, people have opinions about you every single minute of your life, literally. And everybody wants to have an influence on you one way or the other and an impact and a critic, whether they understand. I mean, it is very, it's amazing. I was thinking about this earlier, which is
Mhm.
no one knows what you're going through because
Exactly.
no one is actually in your shoes. And even if they
Right.
were in a similar shoe, they're not going to be your shoes.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
there is like, this is not one shoe fits all or one size fits all. It's really everybody's got their own, formula and its own, life. And yes, we might have similar, I guess, experiences, but they're
Yeah.
typically different. Your experience and mine will be different.
Absolutely.
We have different personalities. But you're right. I love what you said, that you do not accept someone that is always kind of pushing, and underline the idea that something is off here, And I think when we start, and I purposely said selfish because I know you talk
Yeah.
about self love, and so self love versus like really being selfish. You got to love yourself for who you are and stuff. Now, certainly, there is kind of, again, this word's going to probably sound weird. It's not. There's no such thing as normal. Is that also varies based on what that means. To some, normal may be abnormal to others, right? But there is that standard, I would say, that we all kind of know that this is cool. This is it. I mean, it makes sense. Whatever that may be. But the fact is, you don't have to live in that realm. You can live in your own world, and this is it. And there are people that are out there that do their own thing. They don't care what people think. They do how they feel right about themselves, no matter what. They don't care about critics. They don't care about opinions. They don't care about, what other people are going to think about them, how they're going to, label them. And that's the other thing. People are labeling people all the time.
Yeah.
We have these things like, I mean, it's not for nothing that we say that opinions are a dime a dozen, right? Everybody's got one. And I'm not going to
Right.
continue with the sentence, but you know what I mean with that. But, we have all those things. And then when you're a kid, you get subjected to those things. And I think we all been to a degree, if you're watching or listening, your parents have almost kind of like had an influence on what,
Yeah.
and they basically are. And listen, I can say I fell for that myself as a dad,
Of
where
course.
I was the one telling my kids, oh, this or the other, and try to
Oh
push them.
yeah. I've
And
made
and
my mistakes too.
and believe it or not, I got to a point. There was a point where I realized, you know what, they're gonna grow, they're gonna do their own thing, and therefore they have to be themselves and allow them to be themselves. But it took a lot of adjustment because we are conditioned, from
Yeah.
day one, that you were taught a certain way and you want your kids to be a certain way and you tell them exactly, and it's not enough and it's never enough. And no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to change the destiny, because you can, push them, but they will get a point where they're just going to be themselves no matter what. And that's it.
Yeah.
But it could be too late.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you were talking sometimes in the book about, like, you don't want to get to that point where you're literally a reflection of what people want and not the you that you want to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, ultimately, I think I got to a point where I realized, like, me feeling well is just my priority. And whatever I have to do for that, that's because that's what I got to do. And so I realized that, trying to please people all the time is not a way to, feel at peace inside, to try to just please people or be liked. And that usually comes from childhood stuff where we might have just gotten love if we do this and this, I'll love you if you do this, I love you if you do that. So you're constantly kind of trying to please people for trying to get something like that from them. But it's not a way to feel well in the world. It's just not. And to me, it's my priority to feel well and to be at peace myself. And so that's one of the things I don't do, because I know that that doesn't bring me peace inside. And it's my responsibility to have my peace inside, actually. So it's not just like, self-love, but actually to find your own peace and be a peaceful person in the world. These are things we have to have the courage to do. And it's very, very hard. It's not that it's easy. It takes a ton of courage to say, no, I'm just going to be me. But I really now trust very, very much that I have that, like, just like you were saying, I know myself better than anybody in this whole world. So I am in the best position to know what I should do, because I know what I feel. I know what I've been through. I know everything. So who knows better than me what I navigate to, what I feel happy about? Like, I know, and right? We're the people that know best. And it's not that I don't ask people for advice sometimes or support or whatever else, but I'm still the one that makes the final choice and decision. It's my life and it's my responsibility. And so if I treat myself that way, then I must treat you that way too, right? I'm not going to jump into your life and tell you what to do or how to live your life, because what you've been through. Maybe for you, it's like, a really challenging thing to do ABC, and for someone else it isn't. So who knows that? You know that, right? So it's very important to walk around, I think, in this world, starting to trust other people that they know best their own, goodness, what they need in their life, what they need to navigate towards in their life, and not walk around like, I know better than you, I know better than you, I know better than you. I don't know better than you. You know better, you know better for you than I do, obviously, right?
I love that because to your point, I mean, we might know better, but it's not for you. It's I know better in my world, in how I see things, but that doesn't mean
Yeah,
necessarily it's going to be a good fit for what you need.
right.
And you talked about something in the book, which is conditional versus unconditional love, which
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. Like we think that love is just available, but typically it's conditional. You're being
yeah,
loved as long as you are good. You're being loved as long as you're meeting the standards or the expectations. But
yeah,
I love that you've covered a good section about you shouldn't have to do that. You should be loved unconditionally. Your love is coming your way without any expectations in exchange of that, whether it's a relationship,
yeah,
parenthood, kinship, you name it, friends,
yeah,
it's all the same. So that's a big piece, because I think we all kind of fall into that trap. I
yeah.
think that's a big one for everyone.
Oh, for sure. I mean, people say they love other people, or parents say they love their kids, but do they actually love them unconditionally? Meaning, no matter what, even if you do this, even if you fail your school, even if whatever behavior, like, I'm still going to love you, love you, love you, no matter what. It's a very rare, thing. I don't think it typically happens. And of course, loving someone unconditionally doesn't mean they could do whatever they want to you or abuse you. You can even not talk to somebody ever again and still love them, right? So we can even love from far, with a distance and everything. But it's very rare to see unconditional love or to experience it. And I think that's like a bit of a pain that everybody walks around with, this kind of pain of like, I wasn't loved unconditionally. I was only loved if I behaved, or if I got good grades, or if I pleased my parents, or this. And it's a painful thing to come to terms with. But it's possible. If we feel our pain, it passes. If we go towards it, we feel it, it actually passes. They say you have to feel to heal. And then what I've discovered is that it's possible to love yourself unconditionally, no matter what. And it's a
We're
beautiful
supposed
thing to
to.
walk. Yeah, well, we're kind of, you might say, like, that is our nature, actually, just to be loving and loving to ourselves. So it's just possible to do that for yourself. And no matter what mistakes you've made, no matter anything.
Well,
And mhm.
it's funny because love versus like, right? I mean, I could love someone, may not like what they do, what
Oh,
their
yeah,
behavior. That's two different
absolutely.
things. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
I tell that sometimes, joke with my kids. I love you, but I don't like you.
Well, we cannot like their behavior also, right?
Exactly.
So it's like separating the person from the behavior. Like,
Yeah.
you could say, I really don't like what you're doing, but
Mhm.
it doesn't mean you hate them as a person. You just think, like, right now, I'm sorry, the way you're behaving, or, I'm not going to be friends for the moment because you keep doing behavior that is not acceptable for me. It's my boundary. But it doesn't mean I hate you. I could still love you. And, one day, if you learn to behave differently, welcome back, or.
I mean, the
It's
love's gonna.
separating the person from the behavior, and
Yeah.
even for ourselves, to separate our person from our mistakes or our behaviors. It doesn't mean we're bad.
we, Again, we're not. I mean, I think we're
We're
designed to
not.
be good. I mean, now some people will debate that. We can go in the religious realm, and there's evil and there's good out there. There's energy, positive, negative, and people do get different attractions towards one or the other. But in
Well,
our
just
core,
think about your own self. I don't worry about what other people are, or they good. Just do your own. Figure out yourself.
well,
That's it.
true, but someone
Yeah.
can say someone. I mean, again,
Mm-hmm.
people are listening. So someone can say, well, that's great, but
Hmm.
you may be projecting negative, you may be projecting positive. Now,
Hmm. Hmm.
because here's the thing, if someone
Yeah.
is negative, right, or their mindset is negative, that's still them.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
essence, that's who they are, right? Now, we tend to always make that assessment, like, you're a negative person, I'm a positive person, or I'm a negative and you're a positive. So that's, again, we go back to the same thing, labeling, and it's the other guy or the other gal. But really, it's like, what does that mean? But so people sometimes they do have this tendency of, and again, there's a lot of talk about mindset, right? I mean, it's how you see yourself and how you think about things. But to your point earlier, is that behavior as opposed to core. Core should be you are clean. I mean, we're supposed to be great beings. I mean, that's how I think we're
Yeah,
all
but we're
supposed
not
to be.
always operating from there, right? Sometimes we're in our heads and we're not in ourselves. So for me, ourselves is a deeper thing that we are not always accessing because we're kind of like cut off from our bodies, We're all in the head and we're not feeling our body or our heart. And that could be for many reasons. And so sometimes just being in your head is not exactly you, when you say you are. And so I'd invite people to practice being in the body and in the heart space, doing all kinds of, heart meditations or heart chakra, this, that, because we literally feel ourselves differently when we're in our bodies and in our heart versus in our thoughts, which are not really just us. We have a deeper us, I think. But that's to be experienced. Like it's not something you could tell someone. They have to experience themselves in that way.
Well, Sandy, I mean, we're relating to the idea of loving, right,
Yeah.
oneself, but that's
Mm.
from inside.
Yes.
Because I think we always seek the love from the outside as opposed from
Yeah.
the inside. But
Mm.
if you achieve love from the inside, then I think
Mm.
the rest is irrelevant. And I think personally, I believe that if you actually love yourself well enough, people eventually will gain that energy from you anyways. And so they'll
Yeah.
be
Well, you
there.
have stuff to spill over now, right? Because you're
Mhm.
full already. So you can spill over what you're feeling onto others instead of if you're, two different things. If you're not feeling, good enough and you're feeling like empty, whatever, and you start like pleasing people a lot, the real reason you might be doing it, it looks like you're giving, 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 right? But are you actually giving or you're just trying to get? Are you actually trying to get approval and love and likes and whatever? Or are you actually giving? Like, which one are you doing? Are you trying to fill to people to tell you, oh, good job, you're nice, you're good, whatever? So that could be almost addictive, this kind of giving, right? You're giving because you need to feel okay about yourself. But what if you feel okay about yourself without giving anything and you can just sit and do nothing and feel okay, I'm essentially good. I don't have to do anything for anyone at all, actually. I could do nothing and I'm good. From that feeling, if you feel that, right, you might end up doing a lot actually, but you're not doing it to get that feeling anymore, right? You're doing it because you're feeling full and you want to, you're like flowing over instead. So sometimes the giving that type can be very like almost addictive, and actually a sign of not feeling well about ourselves, in our deep ways. So
Well, thank you. I mean, because I think that's a big one because
yeah.
it is. I mean, you're touching on a top a point that is very dangerous because vanity is part of who we are, right? And sometimes people do it for that purpose, like you said. I'm giving, but only to get back, or to be loved, or to show that
Mm.
like to get all the likes and get all that, like I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny because in business, I used to say this all the time, like especially in management leadership, you're not there to be loved or liked. You're there to get the job done. However, if you happen to get some love, as a default of
Of
you
course.
doing the right stuff, it's
Sure.
a
Yeah.
welcome thing. But
Yeah.
it's
We
not
are
the
social. We
objective.
love to connect. Yeah.
Exactly, but it shouldn't be the expectation that I'm doing so I can get the love and stuff. I mean, you're doing what you're hired to do. I mean, that's more like business, like but life is just the biggest business we're in, and I mean, really, that's our first business, right? And we're managing ourselves, first, and then hopefully managing our circles and things, and that's a tough one because again, you can control, yourself to a degree, you can control other people, but if you can make that boundary and know who you are, I think that's really what you're going to. And that's
Yeah.
what you're talking about power. This is empowering people to really feel great about themselves regardless of who's what, where, around, doesn't matter. You don't need any,
Yeah.
tap on the
Yeah,
shoulder. You
because
don't
you're
need,
exactly because you're learning a way to live, and the way will operate no matter what's going on. So if you learn, so next week we're doing boundaries. Let's say we practice boundaries. That's everywhere. It's not like if this happens, that's a way of living, to know how to set your boundaries. Or we did last week, a few weeks ago, we did what is the victim mentality. Another few weeks ago, we did what are our needs. Does it mean to be emotionally available? We do a different topic every week to discuss. And by learning the topic, you learn how to be a certain way in life. So it's not about what's happening around you at all. It's the way you are in life, no matter what's happening. Right.
It's that stuff is deep, because here's the reality. I mean, I do believe in this personally, is that I give this example all the time, when it's appropriate, but the idea is that everybody is experiencing the world through themselves, through this, right? And so basically, it's really your reality and my reality are just colliding right now in this world. So your reality should be basically focused on who you are, and you have to be comfortable in that reality, and then interact with everybody else that comes across in your space. And I think everyone is exactly the same. And sometimes we kind of want to get involved into the other realities.
That's our next topic: control and manipulation, where everyone wants to control other people's lives. Why?
But it's happening, by generational.
It's prevalent. Yes, we have to stop that. It's enough. We've been doing that for 5,000 years. Let's do something else.
I think this is the humankind. But even, now more than ever, you're being controlled through multiple, funnels. From your peers, from your friends, from your family, from your significant other, sometimes from your children, sometimes.
Well, they try, yes.
From society, from the government, from the media, from your followers. It could be anything. We are.
But what do you mean you're being controlled? So what do you mean by that, right? That are you being controlled, or are you making choices? And who's controlling you, or what choices are you making?
See, I love that. Again,
so
it's about
who's controlling you. Yeah.
It's a perception. Everything is a perception.
Yeah, exactly.
The way you're proposing it is really like, when you ask the question, then you have no choice but finding the answer. And then you don't like the answer, because then like you said, when you ask that question, like, it's like a eureka moment. Like, it's really true what you said is. That's another section. Like I said, there's so many pieces, but one of the biggest one, and it's still hard. And I have to, it's like you have to constantly remind yourself to look at your part in things. Never, in terms of, people use the word accountability in a million ways, but at the essence of it, to look, how am I doing this? Not what's happening, not who's doing. What am I doing in this situation? Even if you find 2%, you don't have to find the 100. Find a 2% participation in whatever the situation. So even a sentence like you might say, okay, my followers are controlling me. I'll say, how? How are you participating in that? What are you doing, right? And then you're going to find it. You'll say, oh, actually, I'm doing a show. That's why it's, or I'm answering them, or I'm caring, or, you find your piece. And when you find that, what you're doing, right? It's not about blaming yourself, because we're going to move away from criticism and just see the truth, right? We're not blaming ourselves. We're just trying to see what's true. That's why it's about just being honest, or seeing what's true. So if it's true that we're participating in something, we don't need to criticize ourselves for that. We can just see the truth. That's it. And then the magic is here. If you see that you're participating in something, then you could stop participating in something. So that's power. Again, that's your power, to see what you are doing. But it's hard for people to do that, because they're always like, I'm not doing anything wrong. There's a lot of, it's based on something's wrong with me. So I don't want to see wrong things about me. But it's not wrong with you. It's just, is it true? Is it true that you're doing this thing without without criticizing yourself? Just, is it true? Is it true that I'm participating in this? And if I am, great. Let me find that. I want to find that, But Cindy, what you're talking about here is a higher level of presence, of really knowing the self.
The truth. Yeah.
And I'm not sure that many people are ready. It's like the Matrix, right? Not everybody wants to have that red pill.
It's not my
that's
problem. I just do me. I don't care what people do. That's their problem.
exactly. But now, again, for everyone,
Yeah.
that should be the ideal scenario where I do me, you do you, everybody
Yeah.
does themselves, and then we all do our part to collaborate in this shared reality. But we don't do that enough because I think to this discussion, a lot of people are constantly putting everybody's responsible for what's going on here. I mean, we
Yeah.
always do that. Like it's
They
everybody's
blame
fault.
everybody. Yeah.
Everything is everybody else's.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have literally. I mean, we have free will.
Yeah.
I think that's
We
what,
can make choices. Yeah.
and we have the choice to your point, to switch off, switch on, switch territories, switch people, switch, anybody. I mean, you can turn off anyone, in your life and on. You can turn any situation,
Yes.
move yourself from the equation yourself, and that's it.
There's a lot we can do. Yeah.
So I mean, I mean, talking about empowerment, I mean, it's almost relieving, a little bit, when you hear this, that I got this, I can do this.
Yeah.
It can be done, and
Yeah. And the trick is also not to focus on what other people are doing. It's just not your business. Let them do their thing. Your job is to do yours and set your boundaries and guide your own life and make your own choices. And that's your job. It's not your job to convert the world or tell people what to do or whatever else. And if,
Well-
it's not your job or my job, I'm sharing my things, but it's not my responsibility to force. That's force again, right? Trying to force, maybe let people learn on their own, their own time.
well, I love that because I actually state this many times over, in the shows that
Mhm.
when you do this kind of work, I mean, you are somehow an influencer, right? You
Yeah.
give some level of knowledge and
Mhm.
information, but
You're
see, I don't
sharing,
give
yeah.
I don't give that. I mean, I bring experts, we have discussions,
Yeah.
but I always tell people this: you don't have to take anything that we say in the
No,
show.
they don't.
What you have is the ability to hear it and compare it, and then make your own decision based on what we have. But it's
Yeah.
not. You got to do your own due diligence. You got to your work.
Yeah.
No one is forcing you otherwise. Like whether you like what you hear or not, that's still, that's your choice. And whether
Yeah.
you want to follow anything or listen to it, and I think that's
That's
when you get to this
respect, Hurricane. What you're doing is called respect, I think. And you're sharing your things, but you're respectfully realizing that people do not have to adopt your views, your things. It's called respect. And so I really, really appreciate that. And I think that's what helps also in our circle, that people are entitled to their views. Each one talks about what they think is victim mentality, what they experience, whatever, and nobody jumps on anybody's things. Like, you're entitled to your view about it. That's it.
And it's amazing. And by the way, this came up in a various discussions, is that when we can agree to disagree, we don't have to have,
For sure.
I don't have to have my opinion over yours or yours over mine.
Right.
You'll have your way of looking at it. I mean, again, this concept of the 6 and 9, usually we talk
Yeah.
about it on the mindset, but you say it's a 6, I say it's a 9. Okay. It's how you look at it, how I look at it, and we can say, okay, well, we're good there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no difference between, we might see it differently, but we cool.
For
We still
sure.
can get along together.
Absolutely.
But I think the problem is that people don't choose that. They choose to fight, because you're not supposed to be, opposite of me. I got the opinion. And then you have that, again, you're talking
The
use the word
ego and
force.
yeah.
Or use
Yeah.
the force, like people try
Yeah.
to force,
Yeah.
ideology. I mean, a good example, I'll tell you, like in these shows, I mean, I always say we talk about health, wellness, fitness, but I don't do religious politics, things that can be very, saturated with opinions and
Yeah.
real people, because there's a platform for that. There's more for that. But really, sometimes even in the discussion, I talk in general. We talk spirituality. We don't talk religion. We talk different things. So because people have their taboos and they have their borders and
Yeah.
they have their lines and frontiers with
You don't want to go there.
and we
And
don't
that's
wanna
your choice. Yeah.
exactly. So it's a matter of understanding that. And you know what you do. And that's the other thing. We also tend to want to look and feel and do exactly what everybody else. Oh, everybody's doing this. We should be doing the trend.
Yeah. And it's
I-
part of this group thinking or tribal or whatever else, unfortunately. And, one thing I try to do also, so we do two things at the beginning of every circle before we do our conversation and discussion. The one is the demo I told you about, the listening. The other one is at the beginning, after everyone introduces themselves, I ask them to drop, if they can you please drop your titles? Let's drop our degrees, our titles, even our kids. Let's just drop everything. Like for 1 hour, could we sit in this circle and just talk as human beings from our heart, from our soul, from our spirit, from our essence, whatever word you like, but just not your job title and not your, your little group, whatever you think you are, because ultimately, whatever group you think you belong to is still the subset, right? We can't forget that we're in the same group of humanity, right? I mean, so part of it is, I think a lot of people starting to identify so much with one group and not realizing this, overarching thing. It's hard for people to do that, but it's possible because every single week, I'm telling you, every week in the circle, twice a week, we have a group of people. It is not a women's circle or a men's circle. There's every gender in the circle. There's every race in the circle. There's every religion in the circle. There's every age, title, employed, unemployed, like whoever shows up. And it's all peaceful. So it's possible. It's possible.
It's amazing because
it is.
Here's something that sometimes we don't think about. We come to this world solo. We live this world solo. Right? And we belong to the same, as I love what you said. We're the same tribe. We're the same human race. We are one.
We are.
And the titles and the positions that make us, potentially entitled to claim difference are not something that you didn't come with them and you're not taking them with you.
No, that's not the essence. No.
But it takes a different level of being to actually know that the title is not going to change me. The money is not going to change me. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work that way. People get changed quickly if they have no money, and then they have too much money if they have. And I'm not judging, but it's just I'm stating factual things that really we see those things. People get in the business world, it's very easy. You get a title of a supervisor or manager. Now you have an air. You walk like you're on the clock.
Well, it's ego. You start to feel like somebody is superior, somebody is inferior. Which, of course, if we look at our essence, if we get outside our heads and are comparing, I call that the calculator. Because it's always actually we can call it ChatGPT now, right? Let's insert something and let's figure out. Let's compare who's better, who's worth it, who's better, who's taller, who's this, who's whatever. That's a calculator. And then in our bodies is our heart and our essence, or whatever word you want to use. And so if you're living in your head, you think everybody is superior or inferior. Whereas if you live in your body, we realize our humanity. So it's about, getting into the body, into the feeling sense. And, what do you do? Oh, you're doing the picture. Oh, yeah, she was such a good illustrator. Yeah, that's the calculator head. Walking around with your calculator head, calculating versus being in your body and feeling, which a lot of people have a hard time to do, which is to feel, because we've demonized emotions also. So we don't spend time feeling, we spend time thinking. So more you feel, you become more, aware of yourself in a deeper way, I think. But again, what people do. I don't even concern myself with that. I don't feel it's my job. I honestly, maybe that's one of the reasons I feel relaxed also, because it's not my job to worry about what everybody else is doing. My job is to have my peace. That's my job in this world, to be at peace myself. So if I have to set boundaries, I have to set boundaries. If I have to relax, I need to relax. If I need to work, I should take care of myself. That's my job. Everybody can do their own job. And that's it. It's not my responsibility. It's very important to know what we are responsible for, what we're not responsible for,
But then you are still doing a job of sharing the value, this particular thought process. And that's beautiful because
I feel it's my job to share it. Yeah.
You have that, it's very simple for you. You have that nice line drawn. But you can still do the work to help everybody else, become in that same feel and thought process.
Why? Because this is what gives me peace. Because if I didn't do it, honestly, I'm telling you the truth, I won't feel relaxed, because I feel it's something I feel, not you feel, I feel that this is something I should do, that I'm supposed to do. So if I don't do what I feel I am supposed to do, then I'm not at peace. So the reason I've been doing this is because it maintains my peace. Do you know what I mean?
I love it, but really,
It's just the truth. That's the truth. Like I feel like I have to do this, and if I don't, I'm gonna be stressed.
well, remember you asked me about when you said like, give me an example, and that's
Yeah.
exactly the same place where I am.
Oh, wonderful.
Because what I'm
You
doing,
feel drawn to do this, and you're doing it. And that's
I,
it. Yeah. Good
and
for
that's
you.
and I'm telling you, like, it is challenging, but you know what? I feel this is my legacy. This is
There
what
you go.
I'm meant to do, and you
Good
know
for
what?
you.
It's I know it's gonna help people somehow, and it makes me who I am, and that's the other thing. Like, I don't, believe it or not, I'm not the type of person that goes after credits or wants to get all the stuff.
No, you
You
feel
know,
this is something that you should be doing in this
I
world. You're following it. We don't always have a clear, like, okay, I know I should do exactly this podcast, that whatever. We don't know, but we kind of know the direction. Sometimes it's hard for me to navigate the exact point, but it's definitely, I'm listening to my direction, right? And I guess that's what you're doing too. And yes, it's challenging, but what if you didn't do it? You'd be like pulling the hair out, right?
I don't. To be honest with you, that's a great question because I don't know if I can do it now without this.
Exactly.
I
So
don't know
you
if I
got to
can
do
ever go
it.
back.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, true story. I mean, I got challenged in a job about this, and I kind of I would not have changed this for anything, even though that job was not there for me anymore because of the conflict apparently. But the idea is this was what I wanted, and this is what I think I'm meant to do today, now, and for the rest of my life until I go. And that's actually me right now. And so
that's wonderful that you found that. Good for you.
And I really, so I relate to you because I get that. I mean, and I think people watching and listening, again, no one is telling you what to do, how to do it, but you got to do that whole self search and self awareness. And when you do and get into that peace mode, as you said, you're going to be you, and then however you're going to impact the world will be part of the you. And I love that.
How it plays out, we don't know, but that's what it is. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting, discussion because technically everyone without influence, if everybody can find themselves, they will find exactly what's their true mission, and they will actually,
I totally agree with you.
Because when they're going to do it, it's gonna be complementing and completing.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. I mean, we actually did a circle on purpose. Like, what is your purpose? Each person was talking about what they think it is. And everyone had a bit different views, but and I'm sharing mine, so it's not invalidating some of the other views that were there. But my view is that our purpose is to be yourself and to express yourself. That's the purpose of being here. So it's hard to know what it means to be yourself, right? We have to uncover and unpack all these weird things we might have learned, whatever. But then eventually, when we've done that, we start to feel ourselves more and more, set some boundaries, live through help ourselves through some old trauma, whatever. We start to be ourselves more and more and more. And then our job is to express ourselves. So yours might be through this kind of work that you're doing, Hurricane. Mine might be mine. Bruce Lee might be through his martial arts. Somebody else might be just, painting and talking to their neighbors, and nothing wrong with that. It's not that it has to be grand and huge and whatever. Each person is to be themselves. That's it. That's the goal in my view. Right. So yep. Go ahead.
But thank you, Cindy. I actually think that anyone watching and listening right now, today, whenever, we are unique. We are actually here, as individuals, but we will, if we do the search, we will find our true purpose in life. And, one is, whatever it is, divinity and things like that, or it could be simply just to be a good part of society. Because, I mean, as you said, we are one of the same fabric of humanity, and we all have a role. I mean, you look at the bees, right? I mean, they all exist in the hive, but they all have their own function, their own identity, and they do their own piece. And it cannot function if each one of them doesn't do what they're supposed to do.
Exactly. So my job is to do my part. Your job is to do your part. That's it. I don't worry about everybody. Everybody else, let them figure out their own job and what they need to do. So I'm walking around this world doing what I think is my part, because I'm trying to be accountable as a human being to do what I feel I'm supposed to do. And that's it.
So someone can ask the question, like, in a business or any other, I mean, we're in social worlds, right? I mean, we share the world with people, if you're, and again, this goes back to, it's not really being selfish, it's just self-love. you still
Mhm.
contribute. I think that's really the main difference.
Yeah, I think you contribute. I mean, people, what I've met is that when you really, really love yourself deeply, you attain a love for other humans that is very different than the usual one because you understand the sameness, right? Because why would I love myself so deeply? Because I really, really, really understand myself, right? Why else would I? Because I really understand. Like it took me time to understand all my details of how I lived. And I realized, well, I'm sure Hurricane has his, things that he can understand. So you kind of assume understanding of everybody now. Because if you understand yourself, it's like math, right? I understand, oh, okay, because when I was a kid, I had this, when I was this, it's like math, it's scientific. And so you understand that everybody has that as well. So there's a commonality that we feel about each other and a compassion for the other that develops because of this deep compassion for self. So, in fact, it might look selfish to spend a ton of time on compassion for yourself, but my experience, anyway, is that that just leads to very, very high compassion for others. So, absolutely, I would say start with yourself, start with yourself, start with yourself, start with yourself. It's like the way to go. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because in most of the discussions about elevating himself and so on and so forth, it goes with like you got to do first. Here, it's the
Yeah.
same example about the plane and the mask, right? You got to
Yeah.
do you first before you can be good to anyone. So if you can
Yeah. I
align
agree.
here, everybody else you can serve
100%.
better.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You referred to something in the book about dehumanization.
Yeah.
So what let's talk to our audiences about that part, because you know really your formula, what we're talking right now, can it I think if everybody does that, we'll be in peace with ourselves, with everybody else, and life will be going so smooth it's not even funny. But it's a wish maybe, but it will
I'm
be an idea.
wishing.
It will be an ideal world, right? But it starts with one at a time. If every
Yeah.
one of us can make that transition and kind of cleanse up and be in peace and be in a good harmony with themselves,
Yes.
and then they can align properly and be just a good
Yeah.
Samaritan,
It's contagious.
Yep.
I do think it's
It's
contagious.
it's pretty cool stuff. I mean, it's because it's one thing, like when I haven't read the whole book. I mean, I read some of it, but like I know that as I go through this thing, it's just going to keep transforming and giving more. But it's rich. I mean, it's got so much stuff that if you read it, folks, and you'll be like, whoa. I mean, I need this because it will get you almost like from the beginning of all the bad things that can be happening and how you can literally kind of remove all that bad stuff. And it's like really just getting a nice little new version of you. uh it's amazing that we have the ability to do so. I mean, it's not that difficult, but we have to be aware.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just about trying to see the truth, like not wanting to see what's fun, what's nice, what's easy, what's comfortable, what's anything else. Just try to see the truth. That's all. And the truth, I think, leads us to seeing our own understanding of ourselves, our compassion. It lends us to see our pain and go through it and, get help if we need to and go over that. And then, it's just about seeing the truth.
What's funny, so someone can say, well, you've lived a decent amount of life and therefore you were able to figure this out. What if someone is still on the early ages and they're not there yet? So how can
Okay.
they find themselves? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, we might have
It's
audiences that are
hard.
maybe
Yeah.
it's to find yourself early on is going to be very difficult because you still are,
Well, I
guess,
mean, I
eager to
think the
learn.
first I would say is to stop demonizing your own emotions, your feelings. And that's been happening for so many thousands of years. Like there's nothing negative about what we feel. We're allowed to feel sad and there's no need to criticize that and say, oh, I shouldn't feel sad. I should be grateful. I shouldn't feel that. No, there's no, I shouldn't feel. I feel sad. And we can get curious instead and say, I wonder why I feel sad. What do I need? Maybe I'm lonely. Maybe I need help. Maybe whatever. Or I need to grieve. I need time. So that's if we feel sad. Or if we feel angry, we can also, instead of criticizing it, try to see, well, why am I angry about something? Maybe I felt disrespect. I'm not talking about being aggressive towards anyone. I'm just talking about feeling just
Mhm.
feeling ourselves and to ask, why am I feeling that? Of course, some people feel angry because they're very controlling and they want everyone to do what they want, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about feeling a healthy anger when a boundary is broken, not to, to allow that to exist and to see why and what you want to do. And so validating our emotions, or talking to someone who knows how to validate our emotions to start with, and then slowly but surely learning how to set boundaries. Very, very hard to do. It is no small thing. It's a very, very difficult thing to set boundaries with people that are in your life. It's very challenging. It takes a ton of courage, and it takes the ability to be able to handle the possibility of being alone a bit, at least for some time before we open to new relationships that have respect for boundaries. So it's a challenging thing to do, but it's really, really important. So you can watch YouTubes. If you don't know how to set boundaries, watch 100 YouTubes on it. Super important, because boundaries are not rules. Like, a lot of people think boundaries are rules. Like, okay, you're not allowed to yell. You're not allowed to do this. As if I'm like setting rules. It's not about rules. It's about expressing our limits. So you can see it more like it's defining myself. This is how you become you, actually, with boundaries, meaning like, oh, actually, I need to sleep tonight. I'm tired. I can't go out. Or, no, I don't want to do that. And no, I actually, no, I like to sit alone reading. And no, actually, I don't want, like, all these no's are not really no. They're yes to you. And you start to become you. You're not really trying to control the other person with boundaries. You're just like defining yourself. So that's actually how you become you, by boundaries, by respecting our feeling and enforcing our own boundaries without control. It's not about controlling people. That's not the point of them.
Well, you invoking the idea of being able to say no to things, and a lot of people
Yeah.
have the difficulty to say no. Oh,
Yeah.
let's do. I don't want to tell them no. They're gonna think I'm weird. I don't want to tell them no. They're gonna think I'm not a team player. And
Yeah.
I think that's really, we live in that world, like, again, pleasing, as opposed
Yes.
to like, no, I'm
Then
not
watch
going.
videos on people pleasing. Go watch 100 videos on it, so you understand where it comes from, why it's there. Yeah.
But I love what you said. It's really not against them. It's really
No.
yes for you. It's a no
Yes.
to the transaction, but it's really positive transaction for you, because
Yes.
now you get to do you. You can rest better.
Yes.
I mean, many times, and this happens to the best of us. You try to kind of follow the crowd and do something that you didn't even want to be part of, and
No, it's not good for you.
you're
No.
not happy and you're stressed. You get
Yeah.
in a position and you didn't sleep. Then the next day you go in like, oh, I have to sacrifice. Now there are people that may think, well, you got to play, take one for the team, whatever, the expressions out there.
It's your choice. Yeah.
It is a choice, but I love it. Yeah, but what you said here is that, for anyone to get to that nice Zen, yourself, moment, you got to be able to stop, to cut, to be yourself, to be completely
100%.
isolated if you have to. You can be a silo if you want, and that's the other thing. I mean, I do have one privilege, I think, personally, of not having any siblings, whereby I have, and this is true, like I can remove myself, literally from any gathering, any given moment, and I can still be myself for hours, for days. It doesn't affect me, because I was always
You got used to it.
yeah, so it does help, but not everybody has that, that training.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is part of,
It's
like
a very hard
it's a
thing to
train,
do.
but it's difficult, but it's not impossible.
No, and for me anyways, like, given how much challenge I've had and how compassionate I feel for myself, like literally how much I care about myself. I just care about myself so much. Given how much I care about myself, I refuse to be against myself. Like, I refuse that kind of relationship with myself where I'm against myself. So I'm not going to do things like against me. Like, it doesn't make sense to do that. It's my responsibility to be for myself, right? To take care of myself. It doesn't mean I'm not going to consider others or be loving or anything else. It's just, I'm part of the equation. And a lot of us are taught to be nice. Be nice to grandma, be nice to this one, be nice to that one. What about be nice to me? Like, why am I not in the equation? We didn't learn that. We didn't learn, be nice to you. Nobody told you that.
That's true. Again, you made a great
Makes
point
no
there. 'Cause
sense if you think about it, right? Why would we exclude ourselves from that whole concept?
I don't think that we do. I mean, I think by
Mhm.
default we all kind of like the me, the self. But as you stated, it's not like something that we've been told. Like, hey,
Be
be
kind to
nice to
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah.
It's not happening. No, I think today more than ever
Yeah.
we have programs, we have shows, we
Yeah.
have groups, we have education, and a lot
Yeah.
now that
People
with
are
social
learning.
media.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are more into this self, help, self talk, self awareness,
Yes.
self love.
Kindness. Yeah.
It's happening more because people are exposed to it,
Yeah.
which was not part of our culture. Although, you know, even from religious, concepts, even though we don't go there, but the idea, it's always been about you and your relationship with yourself, and then I guess your
Mm.
divinity, and then it's how you connect then with everybody else. So there's always,
Mm.
and I think the other part is if you do good here,
Yes.
and that includes that means you're going to be doing good for your health, you're going to be doing good for
Of
your
course.
everything, because you're
Yeah.
going to, and I think that's really sometimes where we are losing ourselves in the scheme of things, because we try to do everything by everybody else's you know system or expectations or measures, and not necessarily for you, and then you wind up like, I'm not feeling good, I'm not doing good.
That's
you know
right.
I mean, think about it. I mean, like, let's say a good example. I don't drink, right? So
Hmm.
we used to go out with friends, and oh, you got to drink with us. No, I'm not going to drink. I'm going to get
Hmm.
water or orange juice, and that's about it.
Hmm.
So I could have literally like, oh, you know what? I'm in the crowd. Why not? I could have done
Hmm.
that, but
Hmm.
that's not how. So you gotta, and this is maybe a light example, but the
No,
idea
it's
is
a
that,
perfect example, and it's not easy to do regularly to do what you feel you need to do. Yeah.
oh, we're gonna hang out now. I'm just gonna stay home, or
Hmm.
I'm gonna be with the family. I mean, these are things that you hear all the time. Like, a lot of relationship, for example, is struggle because, oh, we're doing days, boys out, night out, the girls night out, and instead of doing maybe family. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying, like,
You made
when
your choices. What's right
exactly,
for you? Yeah.
but
Hmm.
when you do, they sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be bad, because you did it for the decision that was not, again, for you. If it was really
Mm.
for you, then I think that's really what it is. If
Mm.
it's fulfilling you, making that
Mm.
you, right,
Yeah.
then why not?
Yeah.
But
If
if
it
it's
feels
not,
right, you need to do what feels right in the situation, right? You need to do what feels right. You can't do what other people think feels right. Then you're against yourself.
you see, I think by default we shouldn't be against ourselves.
No.
but
I'm not
but
doing that anymore. Are you kidding? I was not feeling well. I'm not doing that. I want to feel well.
well, can I ask you a question now? Your work, I mean, as an attorney, as a lawyer, how do you make that?
I was teaching seminars. I was not going to court and doing whatever. I was
Okay.
teaching seminars to business people. Yeah.
So that's what right now currently you're focused on.
So I'm doing still a bit of those, and I'm doing this work, which is definitely where I'm headed. And we'll see where it goes and how it goes, but it's what I feel I should do.
I think a message is powerful, and I think everybody should at least. And again, we're not imposing, but at least explore the idea that how does it feel to be perfect with yourself and just happy with yourself,
Yeah.
because I think when we get to that self awareness and being comfortable in the skin, mind, body, spirit, think then they can decide you're really, then you're in control
Yeah.
of yourself. And I
Hmm.
think that's really, you don't want to be controlling others, but you're just controlling this. And
Yeah.
if you can control this, then you can make the sound decisions based on how it makes you feel. If it's correct, like,
Yes.
I want to
Love
do
it.
this, it's me, but it's still fulfilling me. And the thing I think what we miss is that we do it to fulfill others, but not us. And because again, we're just kind of like, peer pressure kind of concept,
Yeah.
right? Because it's
Yeah.
the right thing to do. The right thing to do is really to not to hurt yourself. Right?
Yeah. Totally agree.
No self sabotage, right? So,
Yeah.
but it's an amazing concept, and it's I know it's difficult because anyone watching and listening right now, try to do the exercise yourself, and you're gonna see this is gonna take a lot of work to actually really be able to, and then sacrifices, because you might not be like easily when you start becoming this new you, because when you're completely isolating yourself from being able to disconnect quickly and not kind of, I guess, team up, at the first, like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Okay, sure. You're not going to do that. You're going to be saying a lot of no's, and then that's not going to be acceptable. But you have to be in the
But
comfort
you'll
zone.
find new people. I think what happens, what other people have told me also, is that you might end up a bit, more alone than you were, right? If some relationships change or end or whatever else, but then it makes space for new things to come, because there's space for that now. And then you'll have relationships that do respect boundaries, for example, or do respect these values. So it's like there's a transition a bit towards that, right? So if I tell, the other day I was supposed to go to a yoga class with my friend. I have two very good friends, actually. I'm lucky to have two good friends. We're lucky when we have that in the world, like to have really close friends, too. We were supposed to go to a yoga class, blah, blah, blah. And, in the morning I texted her, I said, I just had really, really bad sleep last night. And I feel like, I have all these things to do later in the afternoon. If I go in the morning yoga, I don't feel I'll have energy for all that. Like, so I'm thinking to cancel whatever. Oh, no problem. Feel better. That's it.
Well, that's again, you're going to match with people that understand
That are
and
understanding
respect it.
and kind, and
Yeah.
she's not pressuring me. Oh, come on, pressure, guilt, force. No, respect. Now, if I do this all the time, then she would probably talk to me honestly and say, I keep planning things with you. You keep changing. It's kind of bothering me. Or, that would be respectful conversation too. No problem.
Sandy, you just said something that's very interesting because people would not like, they don't like, or we don't like, when people tell you and force you and always want to do things and tell you how to do it. I think by default, we're designed to like not want that. Yet we fall into that trap. In this particular scenario, with this new formula that you're sharing in the book and your work, is you're only teaching people the idea that, hey, you can really have full control and be the ultimate decision maker on how you behave and what you do without having to be pressurized by all this environmental stuff and your entourage. You are it. You are the master of yourself, and you can control, the decision. And based on that, you can align with similar, I guess, minds, and therefore your behavior is going to be nicely rewarded.
It's totally different. Yeah. You can basically give up all the controlling behavior, and you don't end up like, oh my God, helpless, useless. You actually end up powerful. So it's the difference between being controlling or just having your own power in the world. And it's just much more relaxing and more effective to, make your power, do your choices and all that, than to try to control things which are actually not in your control anyways. So of course it'll not work.
Well, Sandy, I listen. I mean, we just ran out of time, but I have to say, this concept is pretty nice to even talk about because sometimes things are so simple that we just don't know about, or we kind of, sometimes we know about them, but we just don't.
And to be fair, I've learned my things from who knows what millions of pieces, right? So it's not like I'm inventing. It's just maybe how I put it together or how I'm talking about it with you, but these are not things that are like just my views. Obviously, there's many, many people in the world who, have come to realize that this is the healthy way to live, and maybe they are sharing it in different, people share it in different ways. But
agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, you put a nice little compilation here in this book. I mean,
thank you very much. Yeah, I worked hard to put it together. Yeah.
It is, and I do have my copy, so I continue reading it. And believe me, folks, when you read it, it's not that's gonna supposed to change you in a negative way. It just enlightens you, and then as you are enlightened, you will make that for your own determination how that's gonna play. And everybody's gonna be different on how they approach it. But there's great stuff here that I think that we all relate to. I mean, when I read it, I was like, oh, some of it was good, some of it was bad. Like, oh, I was guilty in here.
Yes. And it takes a lot of courage to say that, right? To realize, what? I don't think I was really doing this well. But it's so wonderful you could do that, because then you could say, you know what, from now on, I'm going to do things a bit differently. So it's cool. It's great. It's powerful to do that. It's responsible. It's adult.
Courage, right? You gotta get the courage to actually.
It's mature. Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? It's always a challenge to have the courage to actually rise to the occasion and master the actual courage to face reality. I mean, I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's easier to be,
Avoiding it.
avoiding the truth. The truth
Go for a
hurts, right?
drink. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
When you face the reality of things, it takes a lot of guts, a lot of will, and a lot of, beating up, because you're gonna get beat up when you see it. And you might not like what you hear, what you see, and you gotta
But
just
then we get over the hump. But then we get over. Yeah.
isn't that sweet? After that, it's just smooth sailing, right? But
Yeah.
but it takes a lot. But sometimes what this discussion is going to do is really just maybe give somebody the opportunity to, like, bulb, let me see what the hype is about. And then you'll do it on your own. You'll figure it out. I mean, at the end of the day, nobody, again, no force, no, push, no controls here. You are in charge. So Sandy, question. How can people, work with you in the work you do? I mean, is this necessarily you have to be in physical together, or you can be, online? How does that work?
Well, they can come to Montreal if they like. So we meet every Sunday in
Very
person.
nice.
So if you want to come to the Morpho Bleu Yoga Studio, it's a very beautiful studio in NDG. So we're there on Sundays. Or you can go on my website, thecouragecircle.com, and there's links to online groups that we meet also once a week. So that's the
Nice.
two ways. Yeah.
And the book is available online,
And the book is available.
Amazon, and the regular channels.
Yeah, and I put on my website other things I'm up to and whatever else. So if somebody wants to contact me, with pleasure.
Perfect. Well, any last words of wisdom to close our chapter today?
I would just tell people to trust themselves. Like, even if nobody's ever trusted you before, just trust yourself. We have our inner guidance system inside each person, and so follow you.
Right, perfect. Well, those words of wisdom. Thank you, Sandy, for being with us today. And
Such a pleasure.
well, it's a true pleasure of mine, of course. And again, there you go. There you have it, folks. I mean, it's a simple concept, but it's a powerful concept. I think we owe it to ourselves to always investigate things that can make us better. This could be a tool that can help us be better at, living life in a higher spiritual, I guess, realm. I mean, I'm not talking about religious here, but I'm talking about just the higher self, I guess, esteem and self-awareness, but it can be done. Again, please do check out the book. There would be a link of the website on the description of the show, of course, so you can connect with Sandy, and that's about it. So I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.